Hello friends, welcome to Prismatics online class. And in today's class, we are going to look at what complex number. In our previous class, we discussed about the complex number, where we said that complex number is defined as the summation of real parts denoted by ring Z and the pure imaginary part denoted by IMZ. We explain the importance of complex number in society, everyday life, the application of it. We even explain the proof of addition of two complex numbers and subtraction of two complex numbers, where we say that when you bring a complex number and you bring another complex number, if you add them or you subtract them, that you will what produce what a complex number. Likewise, in multiplication of two complex numbers, when you bring a complex number, you bring another complex number. When you multiply them, it will produce what? A complex number. So the same thing in what? Division of two complex number. We still made mention and explain about power of complex number, where we evaluate power 8, power 10, power 20, power 200, I power 100, I power 30, I power 5, like this. We explain that I power 30, we evaluate them. I power 100, I power 200, all these things, we evaluated them. But there's one thing you need to know. In engineering make use of what? I. Why in pure mathematics, engineering make use of J. But in pure mathematics, we make use of I. You can have a complex number as Z is equal to what? X plus IY. Or some textbook will say Z is equal to what? I plus JY. So that is how engineering students used to see. Engineering students use what? J. Why mathematics student, pure mathematics student use what? I. They are the same thing. Anyone can serve. So today we are going to look at what? The proof. The proof of what? The proof of complex number. How do we prove a complex number? Two complex number. When a complex number, when we get a complex number and get another complex number, when you quotient them or when you divide them, at the end of the division, you are going to produce what? A complex number. And that is how to solve it. Okay, now let's continue. Proof. In mathematics, we use this proof to ask questions. Why we use this proof to answer questions? So now let's go. Z complex number is equal to what? X plus x1 plus iy1 all over what? Z2, which is x2 plus iy2. In our previous class, we evaluate or we study about what we call conjugate of the complex number, where we say that conjugate of complex number is just opposite of the sign. If we have something like x2 plus iy2, because of the plus, we turn the plus to negative. Or if it is in a minus sign, you turn the minus to what? A positive sign. So the ability of changing the plus to negative or changing negative to plus is known as what? Conjugate of what? Complex number. Now we are going to multiply through by the conjugate of the denominator, which is now multiplied by, what is the conjugate of this denominator? X2 minus iy2 all over what? X2 minus iy2. Now what do? We multiply the what? The numerator by the numerator. X1 plus iy1 multiplied by into what? X2 iy2 all over multiplied by what? X2 plus iy2, close it, into what? X2 minus iy2, close it. And that is what we are going to multiply. That is what we are going to see here. So what do we do again? Let's continue here. We start with what? I. X1 into everything that is here. X2 minus I y2. Close it. Plus, what do we have? Plus I y1 into everything x2 minus I y2. Close it. All over. The same thing, denominator x2 into what? x2 minus I y2. Close it. Plus I y2 into what? x2 minus I y2. Close it. Now let's expand. X1 times x2. X1 times x2 will give us x1 x2. x1 times minus will give us minus x1 I y2 plus x2 times this will give times I y1 will give us what? x2 I y1. Now I times I will give us minus I square. Y times y1 times y2 will give us y1 y2 all over. Now what do we do? X2 times x2 will give us x2 square. x2 times this will give us minus x2 I y2 plus x2 times which is what? x2 I y2. Now let's go. I times I will give us what? Minus what? I square. What? y2 times y2 which will give us y2 square. Okay, what do? We collect what? Like term of the what? The numerator. Always recall that I square is equal to what? Minus 1. Very, very important in the concept of what? Complex number. Remember that. So now from the up, we have that x1, x2 minus, we have I here, factor I out, which is I into bracket x1, remember x1, y2 plus x2, y1, close the bracket, minus, remember that this one is minus 1, minus times minus, minus 1 times minus, we turn to what? Plus, and we are left with what? y1, y2, all over what? This is, so this one to this one will be what? 0. Minus x2 I y2 plus x2 I y2 will give you what? 0. So what we have? We have x2 square minus this minus. Recall that 1 is I square is minus 1. Minus minus will give you what? Plus. So what we are going to have here is y square, y2 square. Okay, finally we collect like terms, which is x1, x2. Collect all the number without I together, which is plus y1, y2 minus what? I into what? x1, y2 plus x2, y1. Close it. All over what? x2 square plus y square, y2 square. So okay, finally we have that the real part rem z, we have that our z, which is complex number, is x1, x2 plus y1, y2 all over x2 square plus y2 square minus, now we have our I into what? X1 y2 plus x2 y1, close it, all over what? Also x2 plus y2 square. So finally our ring Z is equal to x1 x2 plus y1 y2 all over x2 plus y square 2, and MZ equal to what? x1 y2 plus x2 y1 all over x2 square plus y2 square. So that is how to prove it. So whenever you divide a complex number, you produce what? You produce what? Complex number. So if you divide two complex numbers together, at the end of the solution, you must produce what? Real part and what? Pure imaginary. So you are going to provide x and y. So that is how to do it. Now let's give example. Are you through here? I hope you are done here. Okay. Let's look at the example. How do we solve this question now? Now let's look at the example. Question 1. Given that Z1 equals to 2 plus 3i and Z2 equals to 3 minus 2i. The question saying now find that Z is equal to Z1 divided by Z2. Solution. How do we solve this? Solution. Now Z is equal to 2 plus 3i over what? 3 minus what? 2i. We have to multiply both sides through by what? The conjugate. Conjugate will now be 3 plus 2i over what? 3 plus 2i. What do? We multiply the numerator together, which is 3 into what? 2 plus 2i into what? 3 plus what? 2i. Close it. All over what? 3 minus 2i into what? 3 plus 2i. Close it. Now we solve. Bring it down. 2 into 3 plus 2i. Close it. Plus 3i into what? 3 plus 2i. Close it. All over what? 3 into what? 3 plus 2i. Close it. Minus 2i into 3 plus 2i. Close it. And how do we solve? Now we are going to resolve it like this. Finally, we are going to have that Z is equals to 2 times this will give us 6. 2 times this one will give us plus what? 4i. Okay, 3 times this will give us plus 9i. 3i times 2i will give us what? Plus 6i square all over. 3 times 3 will give us 9. 3 times 2i will give us plus 6 what? I. Minus 2 times 3. Minus 2i times 3 will give us minus 6i. Minus 2 times minus 2i times plus 2i will give us minus 4i square. Now finally, what do we do? Collect like them. Always recall that I square is equal to minus 1. Substitute in numerator. What do we have? We have 6 plus 4i plus 9i will give us 13i plus what 6 into minus 1 lose it all over what 9 plus 6i will cancel minus 6i into 4 minus 4 into what minus 1 close it. Finally, what do we have? 6 plus what 13i minus 6 all over what 9 plus what 4. Finally, what do we have? 6 minus 6 plus 13i over what 13. Okay, so finally, what do we have? 6 minus 6 will give us that z is equal to 0 plus 13i over what 13. Finally, z is equals to, here we have that z is equal to 0 over 13 plus 13i over what 13. Now our rem z equals to what 0, while mz equals to what 13 cancel 13, which is 13 over 13, which is equal to what 1. You cancel it. So our rem z is 0, while 0 divided by 13 is 0. 13 divided by 13 is what 1. Finally, this is the same thing as saying that your answer is the same thing as saying 0 plus I, which is almost the same thing as what I as the answer. So that is how to do complex number, and that is how to divide two complex number. So whenever you see that such kind of question, you follow it sequentially and get down to the last answer. Get your REMZ and get your what MZ. Thanks and God bless you. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Prismatics Online Class. Bye.